Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dave Sebastian, your coordinator of mentoring arts programming with Wayside Youth and Family. I am here today to talk to you about our virtual programming. I am very sorry that I'm so late today. One of my cameras, my over-the-top camera here, went down on me, and I wasn't able to repair it. The glass had smashed, so I had to run out and get it fixed today. That took just about 2.5 hours. What are we right now? Yeah, about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So now I'm back, camera's good, we're good to go, and I'm very sorry about that junk. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to talk a little bit about the programming, and then we're going to get kind of right into it. Today what we're working on is a large format bulldog piece with airbrush. So this is what we're starting with. I don't even know if you guys can see that. This is a large bulldog cutout on a piece of plywood that was part of an amusement park ride. That's why it has this post on it, that I found at the dump. I guess it wasn't really the dump. It was actually my neighbor's place that they were demoing, and leaning against the front of it had been this bulldog cutout for probably a couple of years that I saw it there. So when they were finally moving, I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing with that bulldog?" And they said, "Giving it to you." So now we have it, and it's kind of cool. So we're going to work on that, and I'll tell you all about it in just a sec. I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about our programming. Again, my name is David Sebastian, the coordinator of mentoring arts programming with Wayside Youth and Family. Wayside is a human service agency out of Framingham. They work with young adults and their families in any number of applications, anything folks kind of need. I work in a program called Tempo Young Adult Resource Center, and this is a drop-in center for young adults, and it has a great mission, which is like we don't ask you about your status, or it's not insurance funded. It's a walk-in program for anybody between 16 and 26, and the folks there help out with anything affecting young adults, basically. Like, they're there for crisis management, homelessness, unemployment, drug problems, or they're there for just life skill kind of stuff, like how to be a better dad classes, and cooking classes and getting along type stuff. And then of course they have necessities there, which is a washer dryer, a food kitchen, a shower, and a computer lab. These guys are really great. They're called transitional facilitators, and they're doing really good and important work. My space is in the basement of that building. Greenhouse Graphics is what my program is called. In the basement there, we've built a small studio that is open to any of the young adults that are interested, that are coming to Tempo. It's a full service studio. Have everything that I'm comfortable in working with, which is probably, I don't know, like a significant amount of media. And when you come in, which our open studio programming is on Wednesday and Fridays from 10:30 to 3, you can come in and use anything you want within the program, within the studio. What I try to do is to teach you anything I can about the media, and then honestly let you explore it as much as you can on your own. I think that there's nobody I know who cannot do that. So I think that it'd be it's a good experience for everybody. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where my program is actually created with a grant from the Department of Mental Health to help us create this arts programming. When I'm not running that program in the studio in Framingham, I am running a road version of the open studio throughout Central Mass. I try to find places where young adults are, like youth centers and residential programs and libraries and art museums, anywhere that I can find young adults and get together with them and work with them. Is a great opportunity to, it's great for me. That's what I'm here to do. And so normally I'm doing that Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. I would be on the road. And so this program we're running today is sort of like the new version of my on-the-road programming, right? So my on-the-road program is called TAG, T-A-G, and that stands for The Art Group. I know, very creative, right? But also very simple to remember what it means and that kind of junk. So that's why I've used that. Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to share with you guys. I have bulldogs, and so I'm excited to do this project because I've had English bulldogs for about the last 20 years, and I've loved the experience. I've had 5 bulldogs in that time, and I have 2 now, a baby and her big sister. Anybody out there has ever spent any time with bulldogs, you know that you fall in love with them basically immediately. You know, they're a fantastic dog. I'm not here to advertise for bulldogs, but they are really, really awesome, and I am always excited for the opportunity to be with them or hang out with them. So that is basically all the stuff that I wanted to tell you guys about. But what we're going to do as far as like where I come from in my programming, if anyone is in need of any of these type of services, Wayside is very available to you guys, and please go to their website, which is waysideyouth.org. What I want to do now is talk to you guys a little bit about the gear we're going to use today, why we're using that gear, and I think that's about it. These programs are not intended for you to do what I'm doing. I don't want to assume anybody has an airbrush at their place, a cutout wooden bulldog, or anything else that I tend to wind up using, pencils notwithstanding. So all I want to do is try to inspire some folks to be interested in doing some artwork, And so you could draw along with me in what you're doing. You know what I mean? What you're interested in. Or maybe you could draw a bulldog with me. I don't know. It's kind of whatever, whatever you're interested in. I am very interested in trying to find a way to, get young adults excited about doing art. This is one of the things that I've been doing my whole life. I went to the Art Institute of Boston and the School and Museum of Fine Arts. And the chance to work with young adults has been more exciting than any of the art opportunities that I've been involved with the exception of my time with Blue Man Group. That was a really exceptional time for me artistically. But let's get to working on this thing. We run our program for about 2 hours, so since we started pretty late, we're just under 10 minutes right now. So, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Right, so the gotta see where my camera is here. There we go. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get right into this stuff, and we're gonna hopefully it'll be fun. Hopefully you guys will learn a little bit of something. Hopefully that it'll be a little more lit than it is right now, since I can't see a lot of stuff. So we want our light to be down here. So here we go. We're going to be working right in this area in front of me. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is the work table I'm working on. It is an old groomer's table. Really cool product. It's an odd size for a folding table. This guy's probably about like 3 feet wide. 3 feet wide and probably around 2.5 deep, so it's like it's a really neat sort of size. So we're going to first thing we have to do is we have to take that pole off, and we have to get an impression of what the surface feels like and feel like if we need to sand it a little or not. I'm kind of leaning towards not sanding it and just kind of coating the whole board in some gesso or possibly just some air paint, just to get a clear impression of our surface, and then once that dries a little bit, we could draw directly onto that with whatever we want, paint marker or whatever. So that's what we're gonna do. So let me grab the dog. See how much of it's gonna fit here in our space. We're too close to the. All right. Clearly, you guys aren't gonna be able to see this very well. see if I can move my camera up a little. All right, so this is the dog. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this pipe off. Best would be a ratchet. I wasn't able to find my ratchet. So I'm using this this old C-wrench. I mentioned Blue Man when I was working with Blue Man. When I was working with Blue Man, I would say the C-wrench was probably my closest friend. I did rigging with Blue Man, a lot of tightening of bolts and stuff, and then I was part of the run crew. Really, really fun thing to be a part of. A little more. I'm not exactly sure what this thing was supposed to have done in the carnival, but I'm guessing something like move up and down, you know, or follow, you know, some other stuff around. The fellow I got it from is an older guy, and it's super exciting that he has always taken it upon himself to share with me the history of our area. My house was, when we bought it, they told us it had been built in 1740, which is pretty awesome, right? But this particular guy said, no, the foundation for your house was poured in 1719. And there was a time where this was only the third house in our town, which is kind of awesome. Man, still sticking a little. That town would be Shirley, Mass. I've been living here almost 20 years now. Definitely had a good time. I live out here with my 2 bulldogs and my 3 children and my wife. And it's going pretty good. Just taking a sec to get this bad boy off. Feels like, you know, maybe this thing hasn't been taken off in a while. Right? I'm guessing years. I've been recently working on an Airstream renovation, and where we're placing it in our yard, I needed to clean up so that there was room to put the Airstream there. So I've been digging up old trees and stuff, and we've been finding like an awful lot of interesting old, you know, things, chains and pitchforks and things like that. It's been really cool, actually. Definitely the pitchfork is probably my favorite thing we've found so far. But a whole bunch of weird and different kinds of stuff, you know. It's really fun. Living in an old house is definitely something I always wanted to do. I do need a bigger one because when I moved here, I did not have 3 children. And you know, you'd be surprised, but they really take up some space. You know what I mean? It's almost like this bolt is smaller. Keeps getting smaller every time I turn it. And you'd think you could get it off, but even though we're here at the end, it is stuck on here real good. Anything up? Hey, there we go. That's the first one. Hopefully that was the hard one. Alright, half a turn. Well, this one feels like it might be more trouble than the last one. Don't want to damage the shape here, even though it doesn't really feel like Gonna be able to do a whole heck of a lot with it. So this bolt is in there real good. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that bolt in there. And we'll work on this side. Alright. The only thing is, I guess I kind of would like to take this bolt out. Maybe use that pipe to do that. Because this pipe is going to be in the middle of our artwork if we don't get it out. Loud noise. Okay. Hope that didn't scare anybody. So the reason we wanted to take that guy out is so that we had room to fit this guy. I think what I'm probably going to have to do with the other bolt is spray with WD-40. It's probably just pretty fused. We'll figure that out, but it shouldn't, affect this side too much. So this side is extremely rough. The wood is turned, and it's just some brutal junk. Now both of my dogs now, and the dogs I've had in the past, were mostly all white. White was definitely the base color of every dog I've had, except for my boy Buddy, who we got as an 11-year-old rescue. And unfortunately, we lost him last year. But all of my dogs now have always been white, and I'm going to base this on one of my bulldogs. I have one that I used to have. Her name is Abby, and we're going to use her as the basis for this particular piece of artwork. So I got to plug in one of my machines real quick, which of course is always going to be more inconvenient than you think it should be. All right, you see me upside down there? Whoo. And you still see me? It's okay? All right, cool. Didn't want to run out of battery in the middle of our project. That would be typical, basically, for me. But for once, I'd like to try not to do that. All right. So because the base color of the dogs is white, I think it probably makes sense to airbrush the entire dog white, and then kind of figure out where we're going from there. Other thing we could do is use something like this. This is golden acrylics. I have a dauber tip on it, and for many of my gessoing jobs, I just take this and marker over the whole surface, and that's my ground, and I just work on top of that. But in this particular occasion, I kind of want to just do airbrush on top of airbrush to see if I can get a softer, more consistent finish. I've been talking a lot about the jacket that I've been working on. I finished that one yesterday. Went great. Took us about, let's see, what was it? Just about 27 hours to finish the whole jacket start to finish. That's a full back painting, both sleeves, 2 pieces on the front and 2 pieces around the side. So pretty significant. The back was probably 15 hours, and then the rest was quicker. But in any case, we're going to go right on to working on this one. We're using the airbrush. Brush we're using, sorry for my compressor. Brush we're using is a Grex. Very cool product. Whoops, definitely does the job. Yeah. Whoops. This is what we will be using. And let all the air out. Something going on. Just one sec, guys. Definitely have air there. Wow, that's kind of weird. No idea. Airbrush decided to totally stop working. Okay, let's try something different. Hey. Sorry, you guys. My Molly was stopping by, so we figured it'd be cool, you know. Loud noise. Ah. There we go. Still nothing. Weird. The air couldn't even go through is super weird.
Paint stuck probably.
No, there's nothing in it. Look, there's the... That's clean.
No, this part.
There's no paint down there. That's just silicone. It makes sense. My Molly's trying to figure out what's wrong. Yeah, I know. Isn't it cool? That's what we're working on today. Where did I find it? Joe gave it to me. You know, the neighbor. Hey, there's some air.
After you just blowed everything on you.
Well, you know what happens. Can you go grab me like a piece of toilet paper or something? Actually, a piece of that paper right there would work out. But the intention here was definitely not to do airbrush maintenance, but it seems like there's a little bit of junk in this thing, so we're going to go ahead and try to fix it up and go back to the job. Good policy when working with airbrush to not spray it in the palm of your hand. You know, it's silly.
Yeah, he just did that.
I do it all the time, but it's not something you should do. You know what I'm talking about?
A little bit, did
Where you go? All right. Oh, so I don't know. It seems like there might be some paint here in the end. So what are we going to do?
Bye-bye, guys.
All right. Bye, my Molly. That was my Molly. All right. Paint on my lips. No? All right. All right. So what we're going to do real quick, like... I usually have some kind of little bowl over here I can do this in, but I guess today I kind of don't. So what I'm going to do here, cool, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this cap, the airbrush cap right there. See that guy? This guy here. It's got the white. This is the quick connect for the airbrush. And this is the air cap for the airbrush, which you can see has some junk paint in it. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that in the cap. I'm going to use some paint airbrush cleaner. I'll make sure we don't do it directly on our surface, because if there's airbrush cleaner on the surface, it could clear off the airbrush we're putting on. So all you want to do is take this guy, drip some airbrush cleaner in there, let her sit for a sec. It's going to basically go right through down into the cap, but it has just gone through down into the cap, right? So that's really what we wanted it to do. So now we take this is my work needle. It's just an old airbrush needle with some tape on it. You want to be careful when you're doing this because this hole is intentionally very small. But we just don't want any of that old paint to be hanging out in there. Once you're done with that, you can go ahead and throw that paint remover away. Throw that, sound it out, Dave. We can throw away that airbrush stuff that we were working with, the cleaner. Put this guy back down here for a sec. There's that. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and try to put this airbrush back together and see if we can make it work. This is the piece that we were using. Again, it's our air cap. There we go. So now we got the air cap on there. I'm going to grab that same piece of paper. All right. So right here, I'm just laying out a piece of paper. Don't want to move any of our airbrush stuff. Hey, look at that, air's coming through. That was some serious crud that it couldn't get air through. So now that we have some air coming through the airbrush, it's great news. You don't have to put a cup on here. You know, you can go ahead and just fill the airbrush, this body itself. So that's all we need to do, and then I'm just going to spray this guy out. Basically, I'm spraying out all the airbrush cleaner. Once it's all out, I pump it a little bit to make sure we're not getting anything out of it. And pretty much that's that as far as how to get paint stuck in the airbrush. Now, if that doesn't work, there's a million other things we could try, and there's a sort of a significant process that goes from being clogged, you know, a few number of steps, right? Like, so if I picked up the airbrush, it was clogged, the very first thing I would look at would be the needle. The needle is right here. If I can lift it. The needle is right here. So you want to take that guy out first. If it's covered in paint, that's one of the reasons that your airbrush is not working. If there's no paint on it, well, that's not it then. You know what I mean? Now, how far you need to push the airbrush in is specific to each airbrush. Personally, I like to, oftentimes, I'll take the front of the airbrush apart to see how far my needle is in. And if you can see it through the end of the, you see that point there? I'm sure you cannot, because I could barely see it and I'm sitting here next to it. But basically, you just want the needle to clear the body of the airbrush a little. There's a tiny little copper tip in there. And if it's out enough, you should see your needle through the tip of the airbrush. Once you have a needle back in, you tighten it down. Now, depending on what airbrush you're using, like I said, this is a Grex. Looks different because it has this large silicone body on it and this large trigger guard. These are some of the things that made me pick Grex, actually. Like, you know, I just think it's cooler, you know. So now we got air again. Cool. One of the first things I heard about Grex, I like one was the color. Every airbrush is a long sheet of metal, and they're really cool in their own way. But this one looks really different than the rest of the airbrushes, and I like it. And the other thing is that this, which maybe you can see, this is a needle guard. Some people call it a needle crown. This particular one has a notch in it. I can show it to you guys. See, there's a notch in it. And instead of screwing it on, like most of them, it just magnetizes to the front of the airbrush. And you're not going to lose it, right? So it works out pretty good. This project that we're doing does not have to, it's not about being clean and that kind of stuff. It's real general. Use these quick connects so that this doesn't happen. Gale force wind coming out of the back of the airbrush. As long as these are on here, no air can come out until you articulate this piece and add the pin. If we add the pin, have the same thing happen. So this pin goes on the airbrush. Almost every, in fact, at the moment, every airbrush I've ever used has exactly the same size thread here. There is better and worse quick connects out there. You know, if you could buy 5 of these for the price of one high quality one, and you could throw these away as you go, that's kind of how I've been doing it. I think there are much better ones. Just haven't noticed a huge difference between any, honestly, that Cool. All right. So now we're good to be spraying paint. This is the size cup we're going to use. I actually have a number of other size cups. I wonder where those guys happen to be. And we could always use sort of a larger one. Just one sec. Let's see if I have a bigger cup in here. You know, when airbrushing, if anybody out there is airbrushing with me, you know, be careful. You want to try to use a stand. I don't know if you guys can see this stand. This stand over here is what I'm using. The Grex, the large Grex only fits in a certain type of stand. Let me grab that for you. I can show you guys this guy. So this guy is another Grex, and it's like an XR or something like that. I really like this. It's a double action airbrush with a trigger as opposed to a needle. As opposed to a fingertip trigger. This is a pistol trigger. Really cool. And now since I use that airbrush, this airbrush hanger is the only one that I can use because the other ones are designed around the traditional airbrush design. Let's take a look in. This is my bag of airbrush stuff and see if we have some other cups for that we could use. Would be a little bigger. We got a million cups in here. So we'll take a look at it. Look at this one.
That's weird. That's huge.
That's really big, right? My Molly says that one's huge. I got to paint this whole surface though, so I kind of need a little bit bigger cup. I'm thinking maybe this one. Do I have other sizes? It looks like it's really big or kind of medium. Probably the rest are screwed to airbrushes already. This guy could work though. Again, I've never found a cup that didn't have the standard thread either. So that's cool, right? So this is the cup we're going to use. Pretty good size. Gonna screw this guy right in here. Kind of makes the airbrush look a little tougher, you know. All right. I keep a piece of scrap paper on the side. You want to always be checking your airbrush to make sure it's spraying the way you want, the color the way you want, you know, and that kind of stuff. I have this other cup that I was using that we just used to mix that cleaner in. I believe that is everything that we need. So now we just have to decide which white we want to use underneath our sketch, right? So here is our surface again. Right. This is our bulldog, right? I wish you guys could see more of it. Let me see if I can get the camera up just a little bit higher so that you guys can see it. Just one sec, guys. Trying to get it in the best spot we can. Kind of limited at this foolish bolt holding me up over here. I can just don't want to break it because then it'll break. Then it'll break the dog, and like I can't control how it breaks, so I don't want to risk it. You know, many artists work with this, the needle sticking out. You can pop your needle in the event you need to. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of cool. But this is the back for this airbrush, which I will drop on the ground because I drop everything. There we go. So we just want to put this guy back on. Some interesting things about this airbrush is this wheel here allows you to set limits. So I want the line to be maximum this size, or I want the, you know, it to be able to lock a size specifically. You can only pull back so far. These things are really cool, and I'm sure there's artists out there that are using them super effectively. I am not one of them. I am very often, screwing this up as much as I can, as often as I can. Looking for one more thing, because I'm always looking for something. Alright. It's over there. So I feel like this is the back end of this. It looks promising. There we go. Alright. Cool. So we're going to paint the whole dog white and kind of go from there. Again, I wish that I could do a little bit more with the camera, but we could try to move around a little like as we're working. I probably will be working pretty seriously on the head, obviously. So initially, get as much in the camera as I can. Well, that's probably going to be it, you guys. I'm sorry about that. I wish there was a way to make the shot even further away. Well, that's actually a little better, right? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so here we go. So I think that we're going to just go ahead and use the bone white that we've been using, that I've been using on my last couple of projects. It's a Createx product. It's made by Tim Gore for his Bloodline series of illustration colors. They've worked out really well for me. This one sounds like it might be empty, so we're not going to use that. Actually, you know what? Another thing I've been using lately is Maltau, which is refills for the paint markers. They worked out really good for me. These guys here are pretty good too. And I actually just pulled this opaque white, which is a spectrum color. Oh, that sounds a little bit weird. Never really used spectrum colors. I've used mostly Createx. I have a few other colors I've gotten recently that I'm interested in trying, but that I haven't gotten a chance to try yet. So I think for this one, our first coat, we're going to go with this Maltau white. This is called Signal White. Okay. All right. So now that we got our airbrush loaded and pretty much good to go, I was saying that I usually like to keep a piece of paper here on the side. Make sure everything's spraying okay. Everything looks like it's spraying just fine. I'm going to leave that guy over there. And we're just going to try to get a reasonable coat to cover some of this in a soft kind of a way. Just got to make sure there's not any standing dirt on it. So these things should be over here. There. Right. There's some junk over here on the ends, around the edges. Seems like some spider webs and stuff like that. Kind of yucky. Here's all right. I'm interested in cleaning it just so the airbrush doesn't come off when a piece of something falls off. But really, I'm using the airbrush so that I can paint above all this junk without changing it, because it's part of the character of the cutout. That might be, silly because this is not high quality, but someone made it intentionally. And I really dig that. So we're going to see what happens. So all we're doing is just putting a little coat on everywhere. Well, I'll tell you one thing right off the bat that I super wish I had a larger airbrush throw. The tip of both of my other airbrushes are pretty much the same. Throw on this guy is a little bigger. This is a Pache Talon. Take a look at how much paint we've used so far. No, we still got some. Pull off our cap here just for a sec. Sure. Got something happening here. Sorry about that. That's the compressor running. Well, that's a fun sound, huh? That's as the air goes through that hole. Hold on just one sec, guys. Just one sec, guys. Sorry about this. All right. There we go. What is playing? Oh, this is killing me, you guys. Oh, I know it. One sec. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes you can't get a break. It's the story of my life, really. Tell you, it's usually freezing in my house, but we're in this weird transitional time between winter and summer and spring, where it's like summer and fall, spring and fall, where it's kind of like getting hot but not. You know, it's just. I always like the comedian who said it reminds him of malaria. I couldn't agree more. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but that bubbling sound is the sound of the airbrush running out of paint. As you airbrush for a while, that sound will start to become ingrained in your head. as it says when to stop. I don't know if you guys can see it sort of pulsing as we hit. I'm guessing you guys can't even see this. Get me out of the way. Still, all I'm doing is hitting the bottom of his legs and his feet. All right. Hey, it's not a good hat moment. All right, looks like we're just about out of paint, which is not surprising. If you took a marker and covered this much surface, you'd be out of paint too. So we're using quite a bit of paint in here because we're covering some space, and we had used basically the same amount of paint to do what we've done so far. So we're going to keep working on it right in here. You guys see that? Looks like our needle's giving us a little bit of trouble here. All right. Okay. That's fine. So all we're going to do is keep coating away up here. Oh, a little bit of something on the surface there. I'm sure this isn't the most exciting part. I'm sorry about that. All we're doing is getting in a good base coat that we can use to stick to. You know, paint loves to stick to paint. And it works much better if it has paint on it than when you're trying to paint on it. I know you guys can't see that again. We'll try to stay on camera here. Oops. All right. We got most of what you guys can see here happening. See this? Don't do that. This is what happens to excessive pumping of the airbrush. After something like that happens, or any time that you're painting, you want to basically make sure you don't spit, allow the airbrush to spit. If you start and stop, when you stop, the paint that's on there sits there, and then you start and it aerosols it. So you want to try not to do that. So what I always say is start air off, and then just keep working with the paint. And no matter what happens, the airbrush is very often going to give you a hard time. Trigger's moving on me. Sometimes you just can't get a break. For some reason the paint here is dancing around a little bit. Oh, that looks better. Oops. There we go. Let's try that. Here you can see, luckily the airbrush is helping point out where there's junk that I should have cleaned off. See over here? I'm running low on paint here. Yeah, we're out. You guys still with me? You still with me? All right. So we're coming up on our first hour. I know we haven't done nearly as much as I would have liked to do, but it's coming, you know, like, and we're doing okay. You see, of course, that the airbrush is much hotter around the edges. So that is kind of a typical thing, I feel like. Jumping around a little bit. I'm over here now. You see, I'm over in this corner, over here, over in this corner. This is stuff you can do when you're on live stream. stuff hanging off here around the edges. Right. Okay. Still working in a space you guys can't see. I love it. Hold on just one sec, guys. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. All right. You guys doing okay? Alright, so right now I'm just going around the edges to try to punch up a little bit of that white on the edges, and we're going to continue working across the piece. I don't know if you guys saw that, this drip right here, that was from starting over the surface instead of out over the side. Now that we got that part in there, we can keep working up. Of course, my hand is in the light. A little better. How we're doing for paint. Out. Again, this is Maltau paint. Sometimes the tip doesn't want to work with you, so you got to use something to poke it. Using the old airbrush needle. end. Now the problem with the airbrush needle is it's a little bit too big to really go through the top. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it works for a sec and then stops working. Or sometimes you're fine to put a few drips in, but if you put a lot, it stops working. That's a lot of personality in the not helping me world. Now we got a pretty good amount of paint in there. You see that? Probably not how much of it. There's no depth perception from above, right? I'm back. Let's move that over here a little bit. Hey, I'm over here now. So that you can see the head. Yeah. Hold on one sec, guys. Okay. That was adding a little bit more pressure behind the airbrush to see if it can help to feed my paint a little quicker. Getting just a little flutter out of the airbrush right now. I'm not sure why that is. I was thinking it was pressure related. It seems to be more like needle related. Because a little more pressure we got in there. Either that or my needle is bent. Which is one of the biggest problems with airbrushing, is that your needles bend. The needles are very, very fragile. Because keeping in mind, you got this giant needle, but you're really only using 1/60th of an inch of it, right? Because it's all about that tip, you know, is that tip gonna giving me trouble again. So hold on just one sec here. Guess I'm thinking this needle is a little bit bent. In a little bit too far. Alright, let's try that. Still skipping a bit, but we'll keep trying. Still skipping a little bit. Got plenty of paint in there. Yeah, looks like we might have picked up a little bend in our needle. Sucky. If you ever take your needle out and go to paint again afterwards, remember that there's a lot of spit after you've pulled the entire needle out. So make sure you start over the side. What is going on? Oh, look at this. That's nice. Gonna have to hold on one sec while I clean this mess up. Sorry about that, guys. Sometimes you got no options. You just got to fix it. I don't know what else I can do. So luckily we got the airbrush fixed here. Looks pretty good. Got all that white that bubbled out of it. So what we learned here today would be it's a super good idea to not pull your needle all the way out while you're painting or while there's paint in your airbrush. You're kind of opening up a reservoir of paint and dumping it all over the inside of your airbrush. So live and learn. There we go. Our hose. All right. Let's take a look at this once again. See what we get. Want to try to get all your water out after you've cleaned it. Just going to put a little in case we have another problem. We're going to kind of go from there. Yeah. What is this junk? Right. You're running into some snags today, boy. I don't know what the deal is. All right. Nothing's worse than silence. Sorry, you guys. Right with you. All right. Hold on one sec, guys. Oh, getting some trouble. I love trouble. Just one sec, guys. Sorry about this. I don't know why this thing doesn't feel like working with me today. Hey, but what are you gonna do? Come on. No. One more sec. God damn it. Just can't be giving me any more trouble. I don't even understand what is happening. Sorry, you guys. Trying to get this thing going. All right, finally got it fixed. All right, you guys, I'm wicked sorry about that. Hey, it's me. I'm back with you. Sorry about that. Just having a little bit of issues, but everything seems to be fine now. So we've got a pretty good coat around the edges of the bulldog. Okay. A little bit of grain of the wood you can kind of trace to remember the spots where you have been or haven't been. Feels to me like we may be out of paint. No, got a little bit. All right. Real good kick right now going. Out of paint again. In our efforts to kill this entire container of white, things are going pretty good. As I was saying, sometimes these caps are just not where you want them to go. I always think it's something related to how much pressure air is inside the container of paint. Because I always do this, it sort of like helps add air, and then the next time you push it, you get more. So I don't know if that's true, but it seems to be working. All right. So now we're going to be poking around looking for some spots that, oh, come on, some spots that we didn't get enough in, enough white. So we're going to keep trying with that. Get me out of there. So we can see as much of the dog as possible. Right. And even on the monitor, sometimes it really helps to look at the monitor because it helps me see what areas are light. I'm sure I'm once again working somewhere where you can't see. I don't know why this keeps happening. Ah. Keep doing that. Normally I'd be fine because I'd have a rubber glove on, but yesterday I ran out of rubber gloves. And in today's world, you can't just buy rubber gloves. I mean, they don't exist really. Like, you got to find somebody that's smuggling them in. Whatever. Alright. Oh, just gotta see what my pressure is at here. All right. Getting one dog here. One dog. Okay. Same thing as I was saying, if I look at the monitor. You can see a little bit more hair there. All right, we got relatively good coat of white on this guy. Kind of a general one for sure. Let's keep working on it. Where it looks light here in the middle. Out of paint again. Here we are trying to get the paint out of the container again. Tell you, one of the things about bulldogs that's kind of challenging is that they are extremely stinky. My bulldog is here next to me right now, and I could pass out from how stinky it is in here. Oh, I know. What is the deal? One sec, guys. All right, there we go. All right. Sorry, guys. I just trying to keep everything running, which on my in my world is challenging. So this looks pretty good. I think we got some pretty good coverage right now. right, so that's pretty much around a good coat, you know, with the airbrush. And then the next thing we got to do is get into this and start actually drawing how we want the bulldog to look. I literally have hoses all over my legs. It's hard to work with that. Okay. So the big part for me, obviously, about drawing the bulldog is going to mostly be about his face, right? Okay, can't do that. I'm going to try to add yet another machine to my setup. I'm going to see how that goes. Always hard to find a good side photo, you know, to work from. I got a monitor over here. I'm going through the pictures of my own dogs. Nothing like looking at your old pictures of dogs, right? Very amusing. Oh, I miss that dog so bad. It's kind of crazy. Well, we're going to start with, you know, this reference that I'm working with here. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you guys because it's on the other monitor. All right. So we're going to work on this with paint marker. That's the reason that I used paint marker to coat it with the first coat of white. So we got plenty of stuff that we can do here. Sorry to have to see my monitor there, my computer there. So what we're going to do is we're going to think about adding, you know, adding some of the features of the dog that I want to include, obviously, and where things will kind of go in a general sense. Oops. So the very first thing we want to get in here is this line here. This is the back major fold that these dogs all have, or that my dogs have all had. We'll try to place her eye here-ish. Right? So these would be some folds. Maybe we'll bring them up here. Have this be the major fold right there. Have this one be the minor fold. Right. Not going to worry too much about erasing initially because, you know, we're just going to do this again. So just want to get some locational stuff going on. You know, like this is going to be where we put the nostril. And we can go out here again. So some muzzle action. Bulldogs have this absolute, you know, they're beautiful jowls. But pretty much from this fold and down around up to his nose is a significant form on the bulldog. Right. So that shows part of that fold, and then in here is where their jaw, comes down. So this could be the jaw, and this is giving us our sort of jowly area. And then these guys come way, way down, right, way down, and become folds like this. And the same here, they swing back out. Can you guys see that at all? See if we can move it a little. All right. So we're just starting to get where we want the bulldog's face to be. One sec. All right, there we go. So all we really want to do is make sure that we get sort of like this, this information down here on the end to make sense, and we want to basically make sure we're in here, building out our jowls, and we want to, remember that we have these major folds up here. Right, like these guys, major folds, but the whole area around the bulldog's nose is also like a series of folds, right? Like I always think of this one, right? And these ones that come up on their nose because they're basically like their face is doing, like this thing, like down and up, down and up, and so like each of those things is going to wind up being a fold. So when you get enough of those, that's when you can bring out his jaw. Right. So I feel like 3 or 4 of those isn't bad. I'm going to bring his eye in quite a bit closer. I do want to use getting there. So now this fold here, really want to kind of want to keep it in here. Like this line, feels like it's the transitional line, for this ridge. That's his other eye. So I think we're going to move his eye down here. And one of the problems 4 bulldogs have is droopy lid. That means their eyelids don't stay up, so they have to have a surgery to adjust their eyelid to work a little better. All of that stuff that happens to bulldogs totally sucks, and I wish it didn't. Bulldogs are so awesome, and they seem to always be saying something like, why is this happening to me? I always think that's so cool. All right. So we're not going to use that one. Okay. Right, so we got his eye kind of where I want it to go, and then this bump here is going to become his ear. Depending on your bulldog, this ear could be a lot different. It all depends on how much ear anatomy you want to work with. Just kidding. All right. Okay, now this next bump here, I go basically like down pretty far with that. That one, another bump, another crease or fold or whatever you want to call it. All right. All right. I'm kind of liking where that drawing is going. I'm going to kind of bring his ear down a little bit more, just so we can get a little bit more of information in about it. And then we can do a couple of folds right in here to help make that ear make a little bit more sense. All right. Okay. And of course, there's the the information coming around the back of his head through here, or her head, because all of my bulldogs have always been girls, except for my boy Buddy that I mentioned earlier, a wonderful dog that we were lucky enough to get as a senior through rescue, Long Island Bulldog Rescue. If anybody's looking for a bulldog, please go there and talk to them. There's an incredible number of wonderful bulldogs there, and they're all looking for you. All right, so from this area. Oh, I see. I want to do this and then that. And then back around. This fold, this fold. This fold here is the one I'm thinking of. That comes way down. So we get his muzzle kind of. See how we're looking with that profile. Looks pretty good. Okay, it looks pretty good, like our nose here. And then we get this, this first fold coming in. All of my bulldogs have always had this monster first fold. And I don't know, I've grown to love it. Especially the girl that we're dedicating this one to. This is my old girl Bella. She's a tremendous dog. And I was incredibly lucky to be able to spend the time I was able to spend with her. She was a wonderful dog. So she had specifically a significant triangular turn here in her folds. You know, this fold for her came across her head down, and then she had a transitional fold that was going up over her face again. So it was basically like down here and then up. So I'm trying to emulate that in this drawing here. Also, there's her color, you know. I wish that I had some better examples of her coloration because I just don't have that many. I'm going to try one more thing. Oh, well, maybe I do have a few more. There we go. Oh, old girl. It's hard to see old bulldogs, but it's also so awesome. We're going to want to have her tongue out because Bella's tongue was always out. So here we're going to put her tongue. A little something. And then she had basically black out through here. Around an outer nose. Line down the front of a bulldog's face right here has always been my favorite part of a bulldog. Just love it. All right, so we need a few more points of reference. My dog Bella had a brown patch that went basically from her shoulder to her back. So we're thinking it's something like this, right? And then the back, yikes. Hey, sorry guys. And then the back of her had the kind of the same. Basically, like her whole hips and stuff. There we go. Her whole hips and stuff also had some color to them. So we're going to kind of bring that in. So it's basically like the back of one leg. Let's see, which one are we going to have in front? That would be it. So we want to basically bring it up like this, and then up over bum. All right. And so she did have a tail. My bulldogs now don't have tails, and it's hard. You know, like it's a difficult thing. I would recommend not doing it. No, I'm just kidding. I would recommend being something you check when you're buying a bulldog is does he have an inside or an outside pocket? It's not a deal breaker, but it is a significant thing, you know. A very significant thing. So it isn't that it would be a make or break, it's that you just have to know that that's, you know, a problem. Right? But I don't think it's end of the world, really. Like I said, I've had both, and I think you can do, you can work with it, you know, like you can work with it. I mean, if you're really, really not interested in having to clean a tail pocket, okay. But if it's a disgusting thing, like if you don't want to do it because it's yucky, I would recommend not getting a bulldog. Because there's a lot of yucky things. You know, they drool, they throw up, they burp, they fart, they have eye gunk, their face has to be cleaned, you know, like it's a nasty puppy. You know, so if that's not the kind of dog you want, then you should get the type of dog, you know, that you want, you know, that isn't yucky. Although all dogs are kind of yucky. Cool. So the next thing would be some musculature and stuff. You know, like obviously we've got some muscles through here. We decided which leg we're going to use. So we broke that out. Laid in some of our areas of color that we're going to use. And we got most of the face drawing done. At least sketched out. Okay. So you can see that the face is basically drawn. Now all we're going to have to do is go in and really pull it out. My thinking is probably what I will do is draw this in a very thin paint marker and then and add in some soft details. Then not details really, some general areas of color and formal decisions on certain elements. And I'd probably do most of that with paint marker. My very thin black paint marker might be interesting to use, but white too, because white might be sort of like better because it'll be easier to cover. You know, if you make a mistake, you can just paint right over it. The Malta white that we're using today is supposedly opaque. Here you can see that it did, you know, you can see that when we were working, you can see that it definitely, you know, covered, you know, in some ways. Did it cover 100%? No. But has it turned this thing white? Yeah. And if we take a look at the back of it, that's a real significant color change, actually, for just marker paint. Make sure the surface you're working on is always okay to paint on, because we just stenciled this dog onto my drawing desk here. Does it matter? Nope. It's just cool. All right. Well, we only have about 10 more minutes, so it doesn't make any sense to move directly into drawing the dog's face when we only have 10 minutes. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I'm going to say thanks to all you guys for being a part of my live stream. I hope some of you guys got a chance to see it, because I was very late today. But in any case, I had some fun. I hope you guys can come back and join me. Tomorrow is Wednesday. I'm on Facebook tomorrow. That is noon to 2. We'll be continuing to work on this bulldog that we're working on. And then we will go from there. I think that we'll get it all drawn with the paint markers and stuff, and then possibly go back in with the airbrush again. In fact, likely go back in with the airbrush again to continue building it out. All right. So that's what we're going to do, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. If you want to come to Facebook, it is Greenhouse Graphics Facebook page. Excuse me. I will be back here on YouTube on Thursday, and it depends on how far I get into the Bulldog project to see what we will possibly be doing next. All right. So everybody out there, have